Hi, this is Stephen Booth with Genius Book Publishing and Genius Publishing Studios, as I'm sure you're all aware. Today's topic is the press kit. This morning I made the momentous decision to get off my ass and do something. I was thinking about one of our authors, actually several of our authors, but I'm going to name names. Bob Cyphers, C.J. Williams, and Tony Wright. Those guys are kicking ass. And I really admire what they're doing. And what they're doing is not exactly a digital approach. It's more the direct approach that I've talked about in other videos. They're hustling. They're on interviews. They're at book signings. They do talks. They're out there. They're doing the thing. And they're doing it really well. This is the direct version. This is not the digital version that everybody wants to do because it's safe and it's easy and it scales. It does scale. Absolutely. By scaling, what I mean is it's easy to multiply the effect of your work with just doing it once. Right now, what I'm doing is scaling. I can send out this video and 100 of you can watch it. That's scaling. However, scaling isn't the only thing that's necessary to sell books. Getting out there and talking to people and connecting with humans is what sells books. That's my entire message. Connecting with other humans is what's going to help you be found, and being found means that you're more likely to sell books. That's my message, okay? So I made the momentous decision, as I said before, to get off my ass and do something. I decided my first approach would be to follow in the footsteps of Bob Cyphers and Tony Wright and C.J. Williams and see if I can't get myself in some podcast interviews, some TV and radio interviews, if that's even possible. I don't know. We're going to find out. And possibly do either some YouTube videos or YouTube interviews. Either my videos, possibly, I don't know, I haven't decided yet, or get interviewed on YouTube. And I've talked about all of these skills in the past. I've put out documentation, and I've posted it on Substack, and I've emailed it to you guys, and it's lovely. That's great. But now I'm doing it. And doing it is different from talking about it. One of the things that I learned in MBA school, the hard way, was that education without application is a great big waste of time. And not that you guys are wasting your time. I find myself learning a lot about things that I'm not actually doing. They sound lovely. Now I'm putting them into practice. And that's where things get more interesting because it's harder than it sounds. What I worked on today was my press kit. That's the punchline here. I worked on my press kit. I followed the instructions that I put out for myself, both the direct and the digital press kit instructions. And I still needed help from ChatGTP to tell me that I was doing it correctly. I don't have a media guru to help me put this together. I don't have a publicist. I've got me and chat. That's it. So I took everything that I had and I threw it into chat. I gave it my bio. I gave it my sales copy. I gave it my book cover. I gave it my headshots. And it's coaching me. It's saying, give me more. And finally, I got all the pieces that it recommended. And let me see if I can get the list in front of me. Hold on a second. Oh, here we go. So here's the asset list. It's over here on this screen right here. Book cover, author photos, author biographies, 35 words, 60 words, and 130 words. Those are the three that I put. You don't have to do exactly this. It's just what I did. The book description and why the book matters and why it makes a difference. A host script, in other words, the script for somebody introducing me when I get interviewed. A 2-minute origin story, how I came to write this book and who I am and so on. Interview topics and sample interview questions. That's what I wound up with. I'm still in the formatting stage because apparently chat doesn't like the way I've put it in the standard font and just dropped it in. Apparently I have to do it nicer. I will tell you, for those of you who are putting together your press kits, that a Word doc is your friend. There are upsides and downsides to using a Word doc. The upside is it's very easy to copy and paste from, so that the person who's doing the article or the interview or whatever can just cut and paste it into whatever it is that they happen to need to cut and paste it into. This is not necessarily the case with images. They can cut and paste the images. The problem is if you give somebody a picture, even if it's huge, and you give it to them in Word in this size, that's as big as it is. Word will crush it down. So you're either going to need to give them the full res image, the cover or your headshot or whatever. You're either going to need to give them the full res image separately, or you're going to need to make it as big on the page as possible and suck up all the room. And I split the middle. And I gave him a square headshot. I gave him the full rectangular 2x3 whatever headshot. And then I gave him the same 2x3 headshot in black and white. And that's what I gave him as far as those assets are concerned. And of course I gave him the book cover. So I think I'm really close to being done with this press kit. The other thing that I did, and this is something that I can help with, I try not to make promises or offer work to my authors because it's not scalable. Not because I don't want to do the work, but because if I did 80 things for 80 authors every day, I wouldn't have time to do anything else. But anyways, one of the things that we do is we do make one sheets. And a one sheet is basically the cover, some sales information like the ISBN and the launch date and the number of pages. The author bio is here. And in the center, there's the title and the sales copy and then the marketing contact. And I'll build one of those for you. It's not a big deal. I should be doing that anyways. I may need to be prompted on that, but heavens knows it can get done at some point. So anyway, I made one of those for myself. And so I'm really very close to being done with the press kit. The next step, of course, will be, now that I have this bloody press kit, what do I do with it? And the next stage is to start researching, and I've already done this to a certain extent, start researching podcasts, particularly podcasts, that might be interested in telling my story. And we can get into my story another time, but for the most part, I'm looking for podcasters who do interviews that are interested in authors, interested in publishing, interested in marketing, interested in entrepreneurship, that sort of thing. And I'm going to hit up all those people with exactly the tools that I'm building. I'm going to make an email script. Here's another factoid that you're going to have to get used to. I'm going to listen to each of these podcasts before I reach out to them. Maybe one or two episodes, maybe not the entire episode, but at least some of them. I may actually enjoy them. I'm not a big podcast guy myself, but I want to be able to get the feel of them, not because I want to make sure they're right for me, but because I want to be able to tell them that I'm right for them. So if I get the vibe and they're humorous, and I can be humorous. If they're straight-laced, I can be straight-laced. If they curse all the time, I can certainly curse all the time. That is not a problem for me. That's what I'm working on today, and I will report back in when I have some more things to report. But I hope this gives you some encouragement. This is not a fun experience for me. I don't like it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get off my ass and do something. The whole point of The Art of Being Found, which is the book that I'm promoting, is to overcome the fear of looking foolish. And I feel that I've mostly overcome that, but it's still a voice in the back of my head. You're going to mess this up. You're going to say the wrong thing, whatever. And I'm ignoring that. So now I just have to get off my ass and do something, which inertia is the other thing. And maybe I need to rewrite the book to include inertia. So that's my message for the day. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.